Hi there. It's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm across the Red River from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. Please do come check us out. I'm laid up in my living room just relaxing. If you come through, I want to know what you think about it. If you can't find anything to do while you're in town, I will find something for you to do. Some things that that I think would be interesting, and I can also help steer you away from what you should not do while you're here, and that is to go see oh, crappy movies like The Boogeyman, uh, released in 2023, just a few weeks ago. I recently saw it, and the purpose of this video is to tell you all about it. Uh, so it's supposed to be an adaptation of the Stephen King short story that was in the collection of Night Shift. Now that is a collection of books that got me through middle school, sixth and seventh grade. And just, yeah, I loved it, right? It was right around the time that I was just deciding, hey, I want to do something, uh, around around writing. And so, yada, yada, yada. Later on, I'm sort of like an amateur poet, and I've done some uh, loose theater in years past with the we did some original work, and it was some macabre kind of you know goofy work and everything like that. So I mean, I kind of realized some of my ambitions as far as that goes. But let me tell you, uh, uh, it kind of gave me a love of like science fiction and just everything, just goofy, because it wasn't just straight up horror. But this story, The Boogeyman, uh, this character in the story, Billings, goes to see a psychiatrist, and he talks about everything that's going on with them. Like he's losing his children, his young children, uh, and they call it crib death. You know, uh, and but he knows it's the boogeyman. He knows it's the boogeyman. So it's his story. It's as he's telling the story in second person to his psychiatrist, Billings. It's a wonderful second person story, and it's beautiful. And everything that's beautiful about it is this man who's grieving the loss of his family, children, and what's happening to him and his family as a result of that. Uh, it deals with his um, realization that he's not been enough to protect his family, and the stress that that puts on him, and the resentment of being a man who's supposed to shoulder the burden of responsibility for the family, and then the that resentment that builds up over that stress, and then some of the guilt that is the result of that resentment, and then the hard case resolve that builds up, that he's got to like fortify himself, and save a little face, So he kind of closes himself off from his wife, and everything. It's a really great story. It just really really delves into, and it's all about the fear of the contemporary man of the time being maybe having a family even before he feels that he's ready to have a family. You know what I mean? Like I think it's just being torn between family and work, and then not. It's just not. It's he's not enough, to save these children from the boogeyman. You know that's really deep, and real feelings. And this story in the 2023, very different, very different. Uh, there's a psychiatrist, and he has a teenage daughter and a preteen daughter, and adolescent, preteenish, whatever. And so, yeah, she's uh, yeah. So the mother recently passes. So they are dealing as a family with their grief. He's a psychiatrist, and then Billings. And this goes on for like maybe 10, 15 minutes. They're kind of visiting, spending time with his family, and then uh, the character of Billings comes to the home office of the psychiatrist, And so it's weird because he's like a psychiatrist and he's trying to see patients in his home. Meanwhile, there's the padding of uh, the adolescent, children listening at the door and stuff. It's like I couldn't go see a psychiatrist knowing that my issues, that there are children listening outside of the doctor's door and stuff like that. No, I'd need some sort of security or privacy or something like that. But anyway, um, what we get is uh, we get Billings, the character of Billings, for probably about 3 to 4 minutes early on. The doctor doesn't even give him much time to talk. He reveals why he's there. Hey, doctor, I'm here, and I'm crying and tearful, and my children have died of crib death, and they think it's me, but they can't prove that it's me, and I know who it is. And this, and he doesn't really even get into his story. He doesn't even get into the backstory. And then the doctor leaves the room, making an excuse to go to the restroom. But when he comes back, there's a teenage daughter running around, and they bump into this Billings character hanging in a closet, dead. So it's like, but it's not a good effect. It's not, and then the movie is told from the teen daughter's point of view primarily, as she's trying to like navigate and sort of protect her younger sister and everything, and just trying to cope with it. It's really just, it turns into uh, I don't know. It turns into some BS, really, to be honest with you. It's not that I think that the movie itself is utterly horrible. It's just not the story that I was expecting. When I see something and I say when I see that it's going to be an adaptation of a story that I'm familiar with, it should be closely related to the source material. Even with Stephen King's Children of the Corn in 1983, 84ish when it came out, uh, and it kind of got a little slack for not being uh, for straying a little bit from the source material. Uh, it pretty much stayed most of the time. It pretty much stayed about until it got to the point that it was telling a story about a supernatural being in the corn that was being worshipped as a god by children that didn't know better. Basically, uh, but it was yeah, whatever that was. Was it a demon or a monster? Could have been an alien from outer space. We don't know. We don't know what the he who walks behind the row was. We just know that, yeah, you know. Anyway, in this case, I guess it was a demon that did end up possessing Isaac, and then they ended up making an entire franchise out of it. But it strayed from the source material, and what but for the most of it, until it got to that point, it pretty much was good. It was pretty much there and honest, and gave you the feeling that what you would expect from the having read from the story. You would get that emotion and that feeling from the uh, from the movie, which was basically being afraid of like strange children who have no accountability. It's almost how you would feel about going into a deep urban, poverty uh, induced neighborhood, and you being stranded in there and being worried about the children, the teens and stuff like that running around. Uh, you know, uh, it was that subtext, but it was in uh, basic. It was corn-fed Nebraska, basically. So instead of in the middle of an urban jungle, but it was the same story. Is what happens when you have children and they're unsupervised and they run amok, and teenagers and stuff like that with no accountability, and there's a bunch of lawlessness, and what happens. That's subtext there. So, but this movie, The Boogeyman, God, I'm so disappointed in it. The rating, if I haven't mentioned it, is SC or I'm sorry, ST. See it on a platform that you're already paying for streaming. ST. ST. If I could, I would rate it as an STD for streaming disastrous mess of a movie, but I think ST is all right. I mean, I don't want to be too hard with it. I have some personal attachment to the story because I loved the night shift collections that went on. I think it was those stories were great and were such a part of my, I don't know, developing ambition at the time that it was like I don't want those stories to be screwed with or tampered with too much, you know. And so yeah, uh, I don't know, the people who adapted this movie. I just feel like maybe they realized that they didn't have the ability to tell the story the way that it's told in the story. They didn't know how to do it, and maybe they didn't believe it that they had that talent enough to do it, and they didn't do it. But the story's out there. It's on YouTube. It's called The Boogeyman, and it came out. Oh, I want to say late '80s, 1990s. If you look it up, it lasts about 45 minutes. So it lets me know that it may have been part of a an anthology or something. You know what I mean? Because it's just kind of a one-off, and maybe it was a short-lived anthology and it didn't go on very long. Uh, uh, so some sort of a, because there were a lot of like macabre, scary story anthologies that were taking place around that time. So maybe this was going to be a little bit darker, you know. But yeah, it's just we had Friday the 13th, the series, Freddy's Nightmares, which was went a little on the campy side, Monsters, which was almost, you know, which it was almost cartoonish, uh, you know, Tales from the Dark Side, what's some other ones, anthologies in the vein of the original Twilight Zone, you know. But anyway, I don't know. I do not like this movie. Uh, ST streaming. Don't pay for it. Don't do it. And the thing is that here's the thing: the movies they got lucky, say with Jodie Foster as a brilliant child actress. Uh, Linda Blair, Tatum O'Neal. Of course, Linda Blair was more of a she did some Hollywood movies, but she was more of a TV actress. But I mean, and then later on, we did some B-rated horror. And, she's great. She's earned her star. Um, but it's like in general, children are not great actors. You can cast them in a part that is identical to their personality so that they really don't have to act. They just have to be themselves. And then maybe you change the name of the character, you change their name to the character's name, and then they can just pretend to be answering to that character's name. Sometimes they don't even bother. They just like, call the child. They just name the character after the child. So there, but just in general, like, children aren't great. A good cinematographer, a good director can make a child look like a great actor. But when you have a child go too far, and I'm talking about teenagers too, when you have them go too far out of their life experience, they don't have the maturity to really carry off heavy material. Uh, there are some exceptions, but generally no. Generally they have to be cast close to the character, and that's not really a broad spectrum acting. That's not really a good. See, a good character actor, a good actor, a great thespian can take any character and can mold himself or herself to fit the character, and you know, uh, even without makeup effects and everything, they can become that character for the the part that they're being seen, for the part that they're playing it, for the duration of they're playing it, and for the run of it or whatever. But if uh, if they can't really become someone other than what they are, I mean, it's more akin to pretend play acting than it is like actual talented thespianism. Becoming taking on the qualities and the personalities of a character that is so far removed from who you are as a person in your real life. That's the talent that I used to see in even some great early movies. Melissa Sue Anderson from Little House on the Prairie did some great uh, television and a theatrical horror movie. She did Happy Birthday to Me as a theatrical release, and around the same time she did a movie called um, it's Melissa. She played Mary Ingalls. She played in a movie called Midnight Offerings, and it was a made-for-television movie, and it was the template that later on the movie The Craft, about the teenage witches, The Craft, and then The Craft Legacy. Those movies were inspired, and they're derived directly from Midnight Offerings, which was a Melissa Sue Anderson offering. So check that out. It's on YouTube. Um, but in general, movies that just center around teens and young children, actors, they're not. I'm not taken away by this. I'm not really pulled into the story because of how generic their acting is. What they really do is they find children that or and teens that have that have a little bit of charisma and have some interesting qualities, and they cast them and then kind of like mold the story around the instead of the actor molding into the part and molding into the story. Instead, the story is being written around the teens and the adolescent actors, and it's not entertaining, I guess, for me, because I'm like, yeah, whatever. But so what I want from from the horror genre is I want the horror genre to become horrifying again, like it used to be. And I don't mean the grim body horror, and I don't, or anything like that, torture porn or anything like that. How about some really good slashers, with, some um, high school seniors and or some you know college age teens or whatever. You know what I mean? What's cool about that is that when I was a kid and I used to watch that, those are people that I looked up to. Those are like, hey, those could be my big brothers and my big sisters, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's cool. And I can't wait to grow up a little bit more so I could be, you know what I mean? So I could identify with that. I, I don't know. Yeah. When you have, I don't know. I don't know. It's just this Boogeyman 2023. It's just not a good movie, bro. Don't spend money on it. Uh, I saw it at a matinee because I had some bonus points. Because I sure would not have spent any more money than I did. Uh, and I wish I could get that money back, but yeah. Uh, what's that? Uh, Caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. No, wait. Yeah, let the buyer. Yeah, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Uh, I I knew what I was getting into. I was just bored, but this movie sucks, 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 Sucks. Most interesting character in the movie is Billings. They killed his ass after he'd been in the movie within about 3 minutes. And yep, uh, I, I I guess he was out of polka dots. You'll see if you see the movie, but don't spend money on it. Don't really. I mean, unless you just have it to whatever. I don't know. That's it. That's it. I'm gonna stop complaining about this movie. Uh, as is something about movies. If generally if I'm dissatisfied in some sort of way, I can let somebody know and I get my money back. You can't do that with a movie, because you just stuck, stuck. You buy it. It's yours. That movie experience, and I wish I could just give this one back. All right, love and light. I really do love everybody. Come check us out in Shreveport, really, and have a good night. Bye.